My introduction to MT Vasudevan Nair was through his films, and I think I really was a very small child when my parents took me to watch Nirmalyam. I understood absolutely nothing of the film, and he just remained as a name in my head and nothing else. It was much later, probably when I was in my mid and late teens, that I started watching Malayalam cinema quite ardently, and that was when I started watching all the MT related films, and he began to represent what was a kind of quality standard in Malayalam cinema. I can remember one definitely, which was Al Kootathil Thaniye, and I was very intrigued then by the writer and wanted to read him. I knew about his work really through hearsay more than anything else. It wasn't as if I had I would call primary contact with his work. It's only when I started reading Malayalam that I started reading his writings in Malayalam, and I realized how strong his sense of rootedness in his milieu is. For instance, when you read about certain things he talks about, there is this short story called Karkidagam, which is my all-time favorite. And when I read that story again and again, and the image it evokes, particularly with the rainfall and the lack of food in the house, etc., is something that comes back to me, because I have heard similar such stories from my grandmother and my mother about how Karkidakam was always a month that was dreaded. And even now, when I go to Kerala and I go to my village Mundakottagurshi, which is bordering the district that MT is from, when we talk to the people who work in the fields and so on, to them even now Karkidakam is a month that they really dread. And so what I like best about MT for me is that he is not someone who kind of loses the sense of story or loses the atmosphere that he writes about. What is the atmosphere or the environment is probably as important as the characters that he creates, and so his story becomes that much more real, and his storyline becomes that much more enduring in the mind. The other thing is, I've always kind of because he has this great connection to the river Nila, and though my connection wouldn't be as strong because I haven't really lived in Kerala that long, the river was something that represented permanence. And when I later realized the connection that MT felt with the river, I could completely understand that and completely admire it too, that because if you look at his writings, if you see his cinema, the river makes an appearance one way or the other. It might not be a strong leitmotif, but it definitely has a certain presence and a certain role to play in everything that he creates.